Naga bakugo X listener, our snake bakugo. Yin has committed a horrible crime. She was found guilty of eloping with a monster. Our elder's voice boomed over the crowd. Yin was my best friend and my longtime crush. I stood in front of her, the crowd looking at the body that was Yin. When the village found out that she was in love with a Naga, they killed her, and now they placed her body here and covered her with white cloth for all to see. I looked around the crowd to see many familiar faces. Her parents. Her mother was crying oceans, while her father had nothing but disgust on his eyes. Some of her friends were discussing what they thought. Some believed that she was tricked or manipulated into loving this creature, while one other side they thought she was nothing but a whore. Sorry. I knew none of those things were true. I would know. I'm the one who told the others about her little secret. And now that was my greatest regret. It all started 5 years ago when Yin and I were taking trade goods back to our village. We were playing on the bridge between the cliffs. It was a nice game of I Spy. I wish I was paying more attention that day, because one of the wooden planks snapped and she fell right through. In normal situations she would have fallen to her death, but she was saved by that creature, the Naga. He had spiky ash blonde hair and red piercing eyes, and he had a long red and orange tail like a snake. He jumped for her and saved her from falling to her death. As I got closer, I could see in her eyes not only she was thankful he saved her life, but that was when she fell in love with him. And something deep within me told me this was not the first time the Naga met or saw Yin. From that day on, she started spending more and more time in the forest than in the village, and she was an herbalist, so most people overlooked it. But I knew where she was really going. I followed her one day into the forest. She did not pick plants and any herbs. She went into a cave, his cave. No matter how hard I tried to hide all those no matter how hard she tried to hide all those hickeys on her neck, I knew they were there. But luckily, no one else did. As the days went on, I could feel my jealousy grow deep within me. Some days I would be in the forest and I see them together. Eventually, I learned his name was Bakugo. But I'd see them together. Yin in Bakugo's embrace, his lower half of her body wrapped around Bakugo's coils. I'd see him kiss all over her neck. I wanted to be the one to give her those kisses. I can't hold my jealousy in any longer on that day. The day when Bakugo showed up one day near the edge of the forest, and in his arms was a small palm-sized hunk of sapphire, and he proposed to Yin, and he took her from me. That day I told the elders in the village. They were so frustrated that they ambushed her when she came back from the forest. She had the most beautiful flower crown I've ever seen on her head that day. That day I'll regret the most, seeing the girl of my dreams being murdered by the very people she healed. This wretched body will be burned at sunrise tomorrow. May she be forever damned in hell, the elder spat. The crowd dismissed as they went back to their daily routine. I went to shack where her body was being placed for now. But when I got there, I saw him, Bakugo. He was coming out of the shack with Ian's body in his hands. He was trying to steal her from me again. Before I could even say anything or even scream, he slithered off into the forest with her. I grabbed my bow and arrow and chased after him. I followed him into the forest and led me to a cave. Sneaking inside, I traveled deeper into the cave. The cave toy saw a large opening, and there he was, Bakugo. In his arms, a beautifully dressed yin, still lifeless in his arms. Ian, wake up, please, Bakugo begged as he brought her to an odd structure. Looking at it, I was able to tell it was some sort of wedding setup. Bakugo was ready to marry Yin, but all this happened. As he continued talking, I didn't know what to feel. I felt sad and awful, although, on the other hand, I felt nothing but anger and jealousy at his words. Ian, please, I love you. I love you with my whole heart, he sobbed as he tightened his hug on her, his red and orange coils slowly tightening around her as well. Suddenly he started saying something, or humming, in his native tongue. As I listened, I accidentally knocked over, alarming him. Bakugo quickly looked over at my direction. At first, there was a look of shock and fear on his face, which quickly turned into anger, hatred, and reconciliation. You, he shouted at me. You're the bastard who couldn't keep his mouth shut. Why must you humans take everything from me? My family, my friends, my home, and now my wife, he said, seething in anger. I'll kill you. I should have killed you a long time ago, he shouted as he lunged at me with full force. I quickly is my bow. I quickly used my bow as a way to block him. He pushed against my bow, pinning me against the wall. He opened his mouth wide, revealing his long, serpent-like fangs, as he tried to reach over and chomp down on my neck. I suddenly grabbed a sharp rock and sliced his face, just missing his eye. He quickly released me while he was in pain. While he was distracted, I quickly grabbed Ian's body and ran out of the cave. As I ran to the forest with my might, I could hear him hissing and crying out, Give her back. She's mine. Come back here, you bastard, Bakugo yelled out into the forest. I quickly hid behind a nearby tree with Yin in my arms. Once I caught my breath, I started to run, only to trip on a root and drop Yin, watching her tumble down the hill. I tried to get up. That's when I heard him behind me. Before I could do anything, Bakugo's coils wrapped around my neck. He lifted me off the ground until we were eye to eye. If Yin hadn't stopped me, I would have killed you that day on the bridge, Bakugo hissed. I could feel his coils tightening around my neck. No matter how much I clawed at his serpent tail, it only tightened more. The edge of my vision starting to darken as my breath became more and more shallow. As I looked Bakugo on the eyes, I could see that his eyes looked at something past me. I knew it was Yin. As he immediately dropped me and slithered his way over to her, once I was able to gather my breath, I quickly grabbed my bow and my arrow and readied to my bow as I aimed where his heart. I took one last deep breath and fired my arrow. It shot through the air, pierced Bakugo's heart. He cried out in pain and tumbled down the rest of the hill. He pulled himself over to Yin's lifeless corpse and pulled her into an embrace, his coils wrapping around Yin's lower half. When I finally got down there, I could see a smile on Bakugo's face as he looked at Yin one last time before his eyes closed forever. That's what all was said and done. I found no joy in this. Once my jealousy cleared, I couldn't see any monster. All I saw was another being who was alone and fell in love with someone. All I felt was sadness and guilt. As I stood, I heard something in the air. Bakugo? It was Yin's voice. I looked around and saw something near the edge of the forest. It was a bright silhouette of Yin, but she was not alone. She was with 3 other Nagas. 2 of them looked like Bakugo's parents, while the third one was a Naga with spiky red hair and a red tail to match. Over here, Bakugo, the red Naga called out. As I stared at them, Bakugo silhouette rushed past me into Yin. They happily embraced, and Yin pulled Bakugo into a passionate kiss. I thought I lost you forever, Bakugo said in a breathless voice. You never lost me. No, we are all together, Yin replied. But a smile. They all disappeared into the forest, never to be seen again. I wish Bakugo and Yin eternal happiness. Hello, I hope you enjoyed this video. This video was basically a admirer of you telling his point of view. And at the end, I basically started crying, so if you hear me sobbing, I'm sorry. But thank you guys for listening, and I hope you guys enjoyed. So, bye!